Breaking on the Now Cincinnati, the White House is on lockdown right now after a woman hit a security barrier nearby. You're looking live at the emergency response. The Secret Service says she did not breach the actual White House barrier. She's already in custody, and thankfully no one was hurt. Welcome to the Now Cincinnati. I'm Ryan Houston.
And I'm Tanya O'Rourke. Flooding in the tri-state. We have been watching our rivers rise, and the situation is going to get worse this weekend.
Anchor Kristen Hartman is live at the Serpentine Wall, which you can no longer see. Kristen, what's going on?
Yeah, you really can't see it, Ryan. I have to tell you, the swollen Ohio River is coming up and coming up relatively fast behind us. I want to show you what the Serpentine Wall typically looks like. We have a picture. Ramsey Fulbright captured it on his phone. And that's what this area typically looks like, the Serpentine Wall with the steps down toward the river's edge. Well, as you can see, those concrete barriers there, that's where those steps for the Serpentine Wall typically are. They're completely covered in water, and you're seeing images like this around the tri-state from the swollen Ohio. And our team over the next few hours is going to be walking you through the myriad situations across the tri-state. We're going to begin with Allie Kramer, reporter Allie Kramer. She was in Rabbit Hash a little earlier, and she got a little video from the general store there. They have been prepping for flooding, and, you know, this comes at a really bad time. It comes less than a year after they reopened after fire destroyed the place in February of 2016. Now, because of all this flooding, they're packing up as much as possible in case water makes it inside. We are going to go over to Coney Island now. More preps over there. We have city workers removing the traffic light controller, getting all those electrical elements out of there because, as you know, water and electronics really don't mix. Some of those workers are on a platform, but take a look at the ones still standing on the ground. The water is halfway to their knees. And you know what? We just got word of an emergency shelter opening tomorrow in New Richmond. To learn more about that, you can go to WCPO.com. In the meantime, we're going to go to Tom McKee, who is in Alexandria. And Tom, you have this story of a shelter that's already opening there for flood victims.
Well, that certainly is correct. This is the Alexandria Community Center. It's set up for a shelter right now, ready to go. They're expecting people possibly from Melbourne or Silver Grove or California and elsewhere in Campbell County here. Those are the people that are going to be forced out of their homes possibly, and they may not be able to go back in for a while. All the preparations that are being made here are designed to keep people safe and secure until they can go back home.
Workers were on the job early Friday installing the floodgate across Route 8 at the east end of Dayton. They have to have everything in place by Monday morning, and it's not a quick job. It takes a lot of time.
With our crew and the help of Campbell County RCC, it'll probably take us about 20 hours to get it all up and done.
Ohio River water could reach the gate at the 62-foot level, 10 feet over flood stage. But it was designed to handle the river if it would go as high as 82 feet.
We're in trouble if it goes 82 feet. That was a 37 flood, was 80 feet.
Right.
So this is designed to go up to 82 feet.
At Queen City riverboats, the gangways were underwater, the excursion boats moored. Captain Dennis New used a rowboat to get back and forth.
Yesterday we were walking on and off in waders, but today it's too deep for waders, so it's John boats till it goes back down.
The entire complex is tucked inside a harbor out of the main current, so Captain New isn't too worried about any debris hitting it. He's seen the river go to 65 feet, though, during his 47 years of riverboating.
River comes up, river goes down. Been doing it for years.
The majority of Riverside Drive in Covington is now underwater, with the Ohio lapping at properties of several homeowners. Longtime resident Chaz Brannon surveyed the scene and marveled at the water's power.
It crossed the street at 54 a couple of days ago, and now it's at 57, just about to creep up into the park here.
A few more feet could mean flooded basements or first floors. One resident was already moving things out of the way of the water. Back in Dayton, Manhattan Harbor remained an island, but the crew keeping things safe had to eat. So a pizza delivery man pulled up, finished the transaction, and it was back out to the rising water to stand watch and have lunch.
Now back here live in Alexandria. What a way to get a little convenient food and stay safe as well. Well, basically, This is only the second time this shelter has ever been used. The first was about 10 years or so ago, and many of you are going to remember that dry hurricane on land that came through and knocked off the power to 90% of greater Cincinnati. Nothing like that this time, but they'll be ready just in case. Tom McKeefe at the Now, live in Alexandria.
All right, Tom, thank you. I'm here now with Chief Meteorologist Steve Raleigh. And Steve, you have been watching this river and rain all week long.
Yeah, you know, it's just been that slow, steady, uncomfortable feeling that you knew it was coming to this point now where we're going to see some moderate or even some major flooding that we're talking about. Okay. And with all the rain that we're going to have, there's no question that's going to happen. So let's take a look at where we are right at the moment. And as we do, you'll notice there's some scattered showers showing up, but that's it right now. We've got a little bit of rain showing, but believe me, there is a lot more to come. As we look at the big picture, you'll notice that train that's happening down to the south. All of this moisture is going to come riding over the top of us. If you were up this morning, you know what kind of rain we had this morning. We'll kind of double that idea as we head into tomorrow. We're looking at a lot of the area under the potential for some flash flooding as we go through tomorrow afternoon into early on Sunday morning. Now, it really looks almost a certainty as you start moving down the Tennessee Valley, and we're looking at the possibility of some severe weather. We're on the fringe of it, but nevertheless, we are there. The bullseye, so to speak, will be to the south. So here's the timeline on what's happening. Tonight, we are going to continue to see some rain. Tomorrow, we're going to see some rain early and then some thunderstorms as we head into the afternoon and evening. And with those thunderstorms will come the potential for some flooding and also severe weather. As we head to Sunday, we're looking at some early rain and then things clearing out. I'm back to show you kind of that walkthrough of the entire weekend and into the 7-day in a couple minutes.
All right, Steve, we'll see you then. Florida's governor revealed his plan today to keep students safe after that school shooting. That includes requiring people to be 21 years old to buy a gun. The 19-year-old shooting suspect but bought his gun legally. He also wants at least one sworn sheriff's deputy or a police officer in every public school by the start of next school year.
I disagree with arming the teachers. My focus is on bringing in law enforcement. I think you need to have individuals that are trained.
All right, so this is another change. He wants to strengthen gun buying and owning restrictions for people with a mental illness. The governor says he will work with the state legislature over the next 2 weeks on his action plan. All of this comes as the investigation into who knew what and when continues to reveal disturbing information about the shooting. Records show Broward County deputies received at least 18 calls warning about the suspect between 2008 and last year. Those concerns included that he planned to shoot up the school and other threats of and acts of violence.
911 emergency, how can I help you?
Yeah, there was a fight in my house. There's a kid and my son.
Okay,
I'm punching him, and now he left the house, but I need somebody here because I'm afraid he comes back and he has a lot of weapons.
So at least 5 of the calls brought up concern about the suspect's access to weapons. The sheriff's office has opened internal affairs investigations to see if deputies followed department procedures after getting the calls.
President Trump's former campaign aide Rick Gates pled guilty to conspiracy and false statement charges today. This comes one day after he and his partner, former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort, were indicted on 32 counts, including tax evasion and bank fraud. The new charges against Gates could mean up to a decade in prison. Cooperating with special counsel Robert Mueller could spare Gates jail time. Now let's check out the lineup.
First responders are sharing their stories about the school shooting today, and you can imagine emotions are still very raw. And it's only made worse as the school's armed guard is now under investigation for not taking action to stop the tragedy.
Also in the lineup, this caught our attention. Airbnb has a new idea to get you to try it, especially if the idea of staying in someone else's house makes you feel a little creepy.
So you may not believe just how many fake tweets are going around these days. We're investigating what Twitter bots are up to, what they're trying to do, and how you can spot one.
You've heard about KFC running out of chicken in hundreds of restaurants. Now you have to see the company's unusual apology.
Plus, how often do you buy something that you weren't intending to? We are breaking down the numbers, and you just wait and see until how much this all adds up to. You're watching the Now Cincinnati.
Welcome back to the Now Cincinnati. Today, for the first time since that school shooting in Florida, teachers were allowed to return to get their belongings. The Now's Kamasi Aaron has a story of first responders who spoke today. The emotions still very raw as we learned the school's resource officer failed to take action to stop the shooter.
Today, the sign outside Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School says, "Be strong, be positive, be proud to be an Eagle." The flowers at the base of the sign and the remaining crime scene tape, reminders of the tragedy that still tears at first responders who spoke today.
It's awful. It's as bad as you can imagine times 10.
My brain really couldn't process what was really happening. Like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
The school shooting touching not just the nation, the community, but these officers personally.
My wife and son go to that school. My wife's a teacher there. She's assistant athletic director.
Later, that officer was able to continue.
By the grace of God, when they walked down in the hallway, they found each other. And they were able to shelter in place. I'm sorry, guys. I'm good. With three other teachers, 2 other teachers, I'm sorry, and 62 other students. And so once I found that information out, it made me obviously a little more relieved, and I could focus on the task at hand.
His son's football coach was killed.
They're my family. Not only my family, my personal family, but the Douglas people. Yeah. Those are kids that, and teachers and staff that I've known for years.
The emotion, the disbelief is only heightened as the investigation begins into the school's only armed resource officer, Scott Peterson, who we now know stayed outside the building for 4 minutes as gunshots rang out. He was suspended, resigned, and has now retired and could face criminal charges.
Devastated, sick to my stomach. There are no words.
One of the responding officers who triaged 2 students wishes he could have helped them all.
What bothers me is I wish I had gotten there sooner and stopped this.
And the reality of school violence now making him rethink, like many parents, what his own child will face.
It's hard. It's awful. I have a 2-year-old. I don't want to send him to school.
For the Now, I'm Kamasi Aaron.
Wow, powerful words. There will be an orientation on Sunday for teachers and students in classes. We'll start again on Wednesday. And today, President Trump is once again pushing for some teachers to be armed, Tanya.
Yes, you are correct. President Trump says that when we declare our schools to be gun-free zones, it puts our students in more danger.
So this crazy man who walked in wouldn't even know who it is that has it. That's good. It's not bad. That's good. And a teacher would have shot the hell out of him before he knew what happened.
He spoke today to a crowd at an annual conservative political summit. President Trump says he doesn't want 100 guards standing around with rifles, but that allowing well-trained, gun-adept teachers and coaches to have guns with them at school would be a major deterrent. And while the president continuing that call, some teachers are turning to social media to say what they'd like to be armed with instead. They're using the hashtag #ArmMeWith. Or you may have seen that on Instagram already or Twitter this week. Here are some of the posts calling for everything from smaller class sizes to more funding to additional school counselors. A middle school teacher in Kansas and an English teacher in Utah say they started the hashtag. They say they were inspired to take action by a friend who teaches at the school where the shooting happened in Florida.
Well, next month, the Ring of Fire exhibit opens at the Newport Aquarium, and we have an exclusive sneak peek inside the jellyfish nursery today. The exhibit will feature jellyfish, Japanese spider crabs, and an octopus, and the people behind it say it's something the entire family will enjoy. Ty Johnson is a biologist at the Newport Aquarium.
This is where we're going to grow all the jellyfish that are going to go on exhibit. We're going to grow them up.
He's in charge of growing the jellyfish that will be on display in the Ring of Fire. He says they have a lifespan of about a year, and their growth rate can be determined by the temperature and how much you feed them.
These are our grow-out tanks for all of our adult stages. Each tank is specifically designed to hold a certain size of jellyfish until they eventually are big enough to be put onto our main exhibit.
He tells us it'll take about 3 to 4 weeks for them to grow, and they're only growing one type of jellyfish.
Aurelia auritas, which are moon jellyfish. There are several other species that we could possibly do in the future, but right now our focus is moons.
Jobson says it takes all hands on deck to make an operation this size work, and they have to move the jellyfish from tank to tank to help them grow.
You just use small measuring cups, usually plastic cups, and scoop them up, put them in wherever they need to go. The most important part with jellyfish is not exposing them to air. Air can get trapped under their bells.
He says he loves his job, and he hopes that people love the exhibit as much as he does.
It's really their husbandry and their care level. It's very challenging, and I enjoy the challenge of taking care of them. So, and every species is very different, so you have a lot of similarities as far as care goes.
The exhibit opens at the Newport Aquarium in March.
Interesting. I was talking to this woman, Margaret, who works in our promotions department. She loves this weather. She loves gray weather. So she's going to have a great weekend.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I know who you're talking about, Margaret. She's very intellectual as well.
She's really
very
smart.
Bright, yes. I bet you she curls up with a good novel, a nice, something along those
sounds
lines,
like a winner
and
to
just
me.
lets it rain outside, because it's going to rain. Let me show you what's up as we look at things right now. Here's our 9 first warning weather, and you'll notice on our Doppler that we've got some rain, moderate rain by Hamilton and Fairfield. Looks like by Ross, stretching down by 275. That's slowly pushing off to the east-northeast. So you folks from Mason down to Elmwood Place and maybe downtown, we'll see a little bit of rain. As we look at the bigger picture, there's also a little string of rain pushing out to southeast Indiana. It's just the beginning. The heavier rain will come, and that's going to be mostly as we head into the morning hours tomorrow. You'll see the story, and here it is tomorrow at 8 o'clock. You'll notice the rainfall totals. This is a total from now right through then, and we're looking at even a third or a half an inch by that time. And sometimes we talk about that much rain and go, it's pretty nice little healthy rain for a 24-hour period. This is just going to be within about 12 or a little bit more hours. Then as we continue to head into Saturday night, you'll see how the totals start climbing. Anywhere from an inch or 2 already by Saturday at 9 o'clock. Then watch this. This is going to be the time you need to be weather aware. During the evening hours tomorrow into later on tomorrow night. And boom, all of a sudden we see that very heavy rain blow by. And take a look at the totals now. We're looking for anywhere from 1 to 3 inches here. And that's just computer totals. Locally and localized rain could be more. We could be looking at 4 inches of rain in some areas. There's going to be a lot. That's why that flood watch is out. Flash flooding is a distinct possibility for tomorrow evening. Severe weather is marginal or slight, depending on where you are. Green shaded area, darker shade, that's the marginal. Where you see the yellow, that's more of a possibility of seeing maybe some severe weather as the evening rolls on. Meteorologist Sherry Hughes will take you right through it. We've been talking already here in the last couple of days, and she's in early and ready to go. 48 degrees is the story for tonight as we continue to see some rain. For the weekend, it's rain and storms tomorrow, and that chance is severe. And then on Sunday, some rain early, and then we'll see some partly cloudy skies. The sun will actually come out. 54 degrees. Looks a lot better on Sunday, and we start to dry out, guys.
Good to know, Steve. Thank you. Hotel or Airbnb? There could be a trade-off in price and quality, but Airbnb thinks it can change your mind. We'll explain when the Now Cincinnati continues.
Welcome back to the Now Cincinnati. We are tracking flooding here in the tri-state. Take a look. This is in Loveland, folks. You can see how close the water is to touching the underside of that bridge. Roads throughout the tri-state are underwater, and if you're wondering how much water it takes to make your car float away, don't try it out, but meteorologist Jennifer Ketchmark has the answer.
It seems like you always see someone trying to drive through those flooded waters whenever the water's high like this, and our motto is the same: turn around and take a different path. But how much water does it really take? Well, at 6 inches alone, this is enough to actually make a grown adult float away in those rushing waters. At 12 inches, this is enough to make a small car buoyant and float. At 18 inches, this is no joke here, folks. This is enough to actually make an SUV float. And at 24 inches, you just don't even want to mess with it. Overnight hours are even a bit more dangerous because flooding is even that much harder to see. So continue to try and stay safe and be diligent as that rain comes down.
All right, so if you have thought about booking an Airbnb for a vacation, but you're worried about how the quality will be or what the person who owns a home will be like, here is something that you're going to like.
Airbnb is starting a new service that will make you feel like you're staying in a hotel. You will want to look out for the word plus next to homes on Airbnb's website. That means it has been verified for quality. That includes things like having a comfortable bed and enough towels, fast Wi-Fi, and a full kitchen. Someone will also show up to inspect the house to make sure everything is clean.
So the plus homes are just in a few cities right now, but this will expand. So is it a good deal price-wise? Well, a typical Airbnb costs about $100 a night. The average rate for the plus home is expected to be about $200 a night. Though we did find many listed for less than that, so maybe you should check out how that compares to the hotel prices in the area and see if it's a good fit for you. The students over at Hayes Porter Elementary held their Black History program today.
That's right, Tanya. It was awesome. They started out by honoring CPS school board member Chris Nelms. Of course, Tanya, you know, he died last year. But students packed the gym at the school. They did African poems, dancing, and singing. Principal Nedria McLean honored Terry Nelms with a plaque, and she spoke about her husband during the ceremony. I had the pleasure of being the MC, and you could really, Tanya, just feel the love in the room, and you could really just tell that everybody worked so hard to put on such a good program, so congrats to them.
What a great program, and great that you went and emceed that. Love that. So back to our lineup right now. We are investigating all those fake tweets that are going around. Yes, they're happening. There's a reason there are so many. We'll tell you how you might be able to spot them. This is the Now Cincinnati.
Welcome back to the Now Cincinnati as we watch the rivers rise and prepare you for what could come this weekend. We've been updating you throughout the hour about emergency shelters available for you if you live in a flood-prone area.
The Ohio River has already flowed its banks in many areas, including at Yateman's Cove, and that's where we find our Kristen Hartman anchoring our coverage. Kristen.
Hey guys, if you've been to Yateman's Cove for something like the Bunbury Music Festival, you know you can typically walk this whole stretch around me. There are venues all along the river. Well, you can't really do that now because water is coming up, and I want to give you a little perspective now. Ramsey Fulbright, the photographer I'm working with right now, came out to do what we call a site check a little earlier today. Actually, it was around noontime, and along this stretch of track, he said he could walk the whole thing. It was dry. So just in a few hours, a little more than a few hours, water has covered this whole section, and we just saw some city workers drive through it. It's not shallow, let's just put it that way. They were kicking up quite a bit of water as they were pulling through it. And that brings us to something that is really important to talk about at this time. One of the big concerns right now as we go into this weekend and as we see the water potentially rise more, it's expected to crest sometime on Tuesday, as Steve Raleigh told me a little earlier today. One of the big concerns we're seeing, roads. Our crews saw CPD earlier today putting up barricades to keep people out of dangerous areas. That includes Mering Way in front of Paul Brown. Police want to make sure you're aware. If you go around those barricades, you can be cited and sent to court. I was speaking with a city official a little earlier today, and he told me one of the barometers you should always use, if you have water lapping up around your tires, turn around. Don't drown. That's the phrase that they use. It's the phrase that I've covered flooding for many, many years. You hear it over and over again, and it always bears reminding because we always end up seeing people who have to either ditch their cars or have to be rescued from their cars. You do not want to get in that situation. We have crews all over the tri-state covering the flooding situation. Right now, I want to go to the Now's Evan Millward. He's covering southeast Indiana. Evan, can you tell me what you're seeing out that way?
Kristen, like you, we have been watching this river rise here in Aurora, Indiana all afternoon. You can see Judiciary Street here is covered. It's come up into this gravel lot really quickly the last couple of hours. Emergency management officials here just told me in the last half an hour or so they expect by the end of the weekend this will be up nearly to Main Street, half a block. That's if it gets above 60 feet. And if you look down Judiciary, you'll see a Marathon gas station that's missing something. They've packed up everything, including the gas pumps, and moved out ahead of further flooding. And just past where we are, there is a tire shop that is shut down as well. Across Aurora,
the river's coming up. It's going to get us.
You can hear it.
And it brings all the mud and the debris, and we got a mess in our backyard when it goes down.
Toot Myers isn't worried for her house on the hill, but she's worried for her neighbors.
It'll go up real bad, and then it'll go down and leave the mess. So Mother Nature sure playing hell with us now.
Each hour, it seems a new road washed out. This truck deciding not to take the chance. Right now, fire and rescue crews are mobilizing to move people out of parts of downtown, all the way from the river up to George Street. One of the businesses is Aurora Tire Center.
We're going to be out of work for a while, you know, and a lot of people are going to be out of their homes and out of work.
You'll hear a lot of comparisons today to 1997, but for the people who live and work here, it's not a competition.
It's kind of heartbreaking. Very heartbreaking.
It's life on the river.
Yeah, all the destruction and everything, all the people it has to go through.
So back out here live, Mayor Donnie Hastings told me again just in the last hour that there is a Red Cross shelter opening up at Lawrenceburg High School, and they have brought in help from across the county here to help with any kind of 911 calls, any help that calls for help that get called in that are non-emergency, and they are going to have much of downtown closed, likely starting tonight. They're going to keep track of this water and move those road closed and high water signs as needed. Still ahead, we're going to take you inside the effort to move that gas station out before the river crept in. That's coming up at 5:30. Until then, we're live in Aurora. I'm Evan Millward for The Now, Cincinnati.
All right, Evan, thank you. I'm back now with Chief Meteorologist Steve Riley, who has an update on the forecast.
Yeah, and we're going to see a lot of rain around here, Ryan. Let me show you what the story is as we look at the 9 first warning Doppler right now. We're seeing just some scattered showers around, and we're going through a bit of a low. We're going to get some more rain for tonight, so if you are heading out on a Friday, you're going to find some rain around here. It'll be light to moderate. There might be some pockets of heavy rain, but the real action is going to come tomorrow, and the reason why is we continue to see all of this moisture just rolling up out of the south. You can see what's to come. Some pockets of extremely heavy rain, similar to what you probably went through this morning if you're out at all or up during the morning hours, because it came down in buckets. Outside now, clouds mostly in 63 degrees, so it is mild. Temperatures for this evening will be dropping into the 50s. I do see scattered showers continuing, so if you're heading out, make sure you bring the umbrella or raincoat. We'll talk more about what's happening as we head into tomorrow, so I can show you the timeline on when that heavy rain comes in and the chance for severe weather too.
All right, Steve. So hundreds of millions of tweets race out into the digital universe each and every day. After the shooting in Florida, computer experts started noticing Twitter posts with gun messages flooding social media. Some posts were for gun control, some were against, some even pushed conspiracy theories. Experts think they were unleashed by computer programs called bots. And taking sides on a debate is not the goal.
I think disruption is really what they're going for. I think anytime that you can throw doubt or cast doubt and chaos.
So essentially what any person can do, a program can do. And of course the programs can do it so much more rapidly and have a much wider spread.
So it's estimated that 10% of tweets these days are not from people, but they are from computer programs, the bots. That's at least 50 million fake tweets a day. Experts say one clue that a bot may be behind a tweet is to look at what else they posted and how long they've been on. If it's just a day or two, that could indicate it's coming from a bot.
Well, KFC has a unique way to apologize for running out of chicken at hundreds of its restaurants. We'll explain next on The Now Cincinnati.
Let's catch you up on the Now News feed. We are no longer a nation of immigrants. That's at least according to the federal agency that's in charge of granting visas and citizenship. It just took those words out of its mission statement, in fact.
Today, more companies are ending their partnerships with the NRA following the Florida school shooting. It includes all the ones you see here. The latest are MedLife and cybersecurity company Symantec. Chubb also says today it's cutting its NRA insurance program, but it says it made that decision about 3 months ago.
So KFC has a 3-letter tongue-in-cheek apology for its chicken crisis in the UK. It rearranged the letters of its name to read FCK. Nearly all of its restaurants are now open again after they ran out of chicken, but many still have limited menus. We're less than 2 months into 2018, and already so many great spots to eat and drink have opened up here in the Tri-State.
That's right, and Craig McKee is about to take us on a tour.
Here
everybody. Brian Maines and myself, we decided to hit the road and show you some of the hot places that have opened up since January. We're talking more than 22 different restaurants that have opened up here in the tri-state, greater Cincinnati area. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get bored with the new food and drink options around here, that's for sure.
And we're in Medici's right now.
Yeah, so this is one of the new places that's open. It's a Neapolitan pizza place. You come in, thin crust, good pizza, and actually this is kind of like a hotbed area of new restaurants and bars opening as well.
You can see them working behind us, the fires going in both of the ovens, making some great pizza, great items here. But again, Wahlburgers just down the road, a lot of hype about that place.
Yeah, so it's a gourmet burger joint. Mark Wahlberg and his brothers opened the place. He's actually going to be in town here on Monday, so you might catch a glimpse of him. So that's right down the road and another fun place to visit.
Agave and rye, if you're into bourbon and tacos, they kind of marry the two together.
Yeah, that's on Madison Pike in Covington, right across the street from the Hotel Covington. About like 75 different types of tequila and some delicious tacos to try.
Very nice. The Sleepy Bee Cafe, a lot of us familiar with the Sleepy Bee and some of the great breakfast items they have there, but now another location.
Yeah, so they've opened a third location downtown on 4th Street. It's a pretty big place. They've got a lot of grab-and-go type stuff for the morning crowd during the week, and a great bar called Astor on the 2nd floor that's open late at night.
And Burkus Brewing also opening up. This is in Ludlow?
Yeah, so they've been in the works for a while now. They're crowd-funded, so they finally got enough money together, and they opened their tap room. It's Ludlow's kind of little up-and-coming town. It's definitely worth checking out.
Very nice. I love the crowdfunding. Any type of a project that's a crowdfunding, I really appreciate for sure the communities behind it. Yeah. All right, so go check out right now on WCPO.com. Brian has put together a list of all of these new locations that you can check out, at least a slice of all of them. You can't get to all of them, right?
Yeah.
But if you have one in your community, in your neighborhood that's opened up and you think Brian needs to know about, be sure to send him an email. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. Back to you in the studio.
Telling you, that video of that guy eating that French fry looks so good. Either that or I'm really hungry right now.
I think both. I'm in that we can go.
Let's go. So we've all done it before, bought something that we were not planning on buying.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time. So we're breaking down just how often this happens and how much it's costing us, and it is pretty eye-opening, Ryan.
That's right. This is the Now Cincinnati.
You're watching the Now Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side.
Welcome back. Tri-state flooding is likely changing some weekend plans. The gaming floor of Belterra Casino in Vevey, Indiana had to close this morning. The spa, fitness center, stores, and restaurants are still open. So even if you don't live near the Ohio or other rivers, you could still have flooding this weekend with several more inches of rain on the way. So consumer reporter John Matarese is here with 3 things you can do. Help us, John.
Yeah, there are some things that you can do. You know, Ryan, to make sure you don't end up with a waterlogged basement, there are several things that most tri-state homeowners can do. Now, most of us made it through this wet week without any flooding, but your luck could run out this weekend because of another couple of inches of rain coming already onto saturated ground, as Steve has been telling us. So tonight or tomorrow morning might be a good time to check and organize your basement before the next round of stormy weather tomorrow. We found homeowners along Eastern Avenue emptying out their basements this afternoon as the Ohio River spills its banks. Now, most of us don't need to go that far and do that, but the folks at Cincinnati's ServPro Restoration Services say there are still some steps that you should do if you've ever had water in your basement before. What can you do? Well, inspect your basement now for dampness in corners and under windows. You may also want to roll up loose rugs and put them up on top of a couch. And remove any cardboard boxes that you may have sitting on the floor. If you have had serious flooding before, consider putting couches and chairs up on bricks or even cinder blocks to get them out of the water. And if you have a sump pump, be sure to check that it's working. If you do get water this weekend, you will need to lift and dry any carpeting immediately. ServPro says rugs will start to mold in just 24 hours. So the key is to dry out your basement as soon as possible.
Boy, we had that problem last year. Thanks, John. And so it is a big deal. You got to get on top of this right away. And we're going to have, look at this behind us.
Yeah, I know, down there. Yeah, it's that tells the story, doesn't it?
It sure does. I mean, of course, this is a place where you would sit and watch, you know, music at the amphitheater. We have our Kristen Hartman is down there doing our anchoring live from the flooded area at the Ohio River. So we'll get back to her in a little bit. But right now, weather.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be a lull for a little bit. So folks shouldn't think, oh, look, it's not raining as much as everybody. No, we're just in a lull because coming tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night, man, it is going to unload again like it did this morning. So let's show you what's going on. going on. That high pressure that's been pumping up all that moisture, and these weather systems that trigger all of the rain and now thunderstorms that are set for tomorrow. So we're going to see some rain tonight. We're going to see some rain in the morning tomorrow. It's really in the afternoon and evening when this right here, this area of low pressure, the cold front, that warm front starts rolling in tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening, and that's where not only will we see an intense amount of rain in a shorter period of time, which means flash flooding potential is there. We have the possibility for severe weather as well as this cold front swings across all this warm, moist air before we clear out for Sunday afternoon. And we stay clear going into early next week. Take a look at this. I've moved the clock up Saturday, 4 o'clock. Not that we won't see some rain before that, but watch what happens at 4 and on. We start seeing some pockets of heavy rain, and watch this as we get to 9. All of a sudden, we're going to get one big old crush of rain for several hours across the tri-state, and it's going to keep raining until the morning hours of Sunday, and as I mentioned, then things start to clear out. This is just the lower end rainfall model that I wanted to show you. In other words, this one has the least amount of rain, but I want to show you just how much the least amount of rain looks like, and that is anywhere from about 2 or 3 inches, but I think anywhere from 4 or 5 possible localized for some folks around the tri-state as we go through Sunday morning. Temperatures outside now, very mild, upper 50s, low 60s in most spots. So it stays mild overnight. I've got 48 in my forecast as we continue to see rain, then rain and storms and a chance of severe weather, and 58 degrees downtown. We'll be as high as 62 across the tri-state tomorrow. In northern Kentucky, mostly. Chance of severe, as I mentioned, and then going into Sunday, we're looking at partly cloudy skies and temperatures in the 50s.
All right, Steve, so we are all guilty of impulse spending, but you won't believe how much it's costing us. On average, each of us impulsively buys 3 things a week. That's adding up to $450 a month. Over our whole life, that is $324,000. Wow, you could probably think of a lot of better ways to spend much of that money. These new numbers come from a survey from deal-sharing website Slick Deals. The survey found most of our impulse buying is happening at a store or a restaurant, like buying candy at the register before you check out. And the majority of the time, we're making an impulse buy for ourselves. But if you're trying to keep your expenses in check, you don't have to cut out impulse buys altogether. Just change up how you do them. If you see a great deal, only stock up, that is, on things that you actually need later on. Or instead of spending on yourself, save whatever you found a deal on to give as a present for a friend or a family member when their birthday rolls around later in the year.
Well, her voice is heard in airports all over the world.
Welcome to Washington Dulles International Airport.
Next on the Now Cincinnati, meet the woman behind the famous voice and the role Kentucky plays in bringing it around the world.
Watching the water. Next at 5, the 9 on Your Side team is fanned out across the tri-state, tracking conditions for you and keeping you informed on shelters, emergency orders, and everything in between. Plus, corruption in the NCAA. An FBI investigation now has implications in the tri-state, what we've learned, and the impact on college basketball as a whole.
Back here on the Now Cincinnati, Edgewood police have a new tool to help keep you safe.
They hope these flashing speed signs will make people think twice about going too fast. They're set up at 3 spots around Edgewood right now. There are places where they're seeing complaints or crashes.
Here, as I told you, this is a bit of a problem spot. We've had accidents right in this curve before. There's another one that was placed on a residential street where we had some complaints. Just trying to be responsive to the community.
The signs are not only deterrents for the speeders, but they also use cloud-based technology that send that data right to the police department. From there, they determine where they need more enforcement. Well, a woman who runs a group home here in the tri-state is tackling the issue of teen pregnancy, one girl at a time.
Janelle Hawker runs Nella's Place. It's a group home for teenaged girls. She tries to show them that there's a huge world out there. She takes them on college tours and has them create vision boards so they can see themselves succeeding.
There's no perfect girl, but we want to work with those girls that we know that we could spark that fire in them to do better.
Statistics are against them. 38% of teen mothers under 18 don't get their diplomas by age 22. And 1 in 6 teen births is a repeat birth. birth. But Hawker works to teach the girls life skills and how to make some good choices. Well, if you're a frequent traveler, you have probably heard that same voice welcoming you to different airports, maybe reminding you which subway station you find yourself.
Have you ever wondered if that voice is from a real person or just automated? Sam Sweeney reports on the voice of the airport and explains the Kentucky connection.
Welcome to Washington Dulles International Airport.
From Dulles to Dallas, Chicago to Shanghai, wherever you step, there she is.
The moving walkway is ending.
More than 1 million people around the world hear that warning each day, but most probably don't give it a second thought.
I pictured a robot, like I didn't think it was a real person.
You probably heard me.
But that voice is real. 69-year-old Carolyn Hopkins has been recording since the 1980s.
Welcome to Montreal Dorval International Airport. I've had friends scream at me, say, Carolyn, I've heard you 100 times.
And you might be thinking the same thing, even if you're not a frequent traveler.
There's a voice for hospitals, ER, blue code, ER. There's a voice for transit. The next train is arriving in 5 minutes. At this time, Group 1 is now invited to board.
Carolyn's studio is lined with homemade insulation quilts. After she records, her announcements are sent to the Kentucky-based public address company Atlas IED before being broadcast to the world.
Welcome to Shanghai International Airport.
Carolyn fell into this job. Atlas IED coincidentally set up shop in the same Louisville warehouse where Carolyn did video production work. And almost 40 years later, her voice is still a perfect fit, at least most of the time.
Welcome to Washington Dulles Dulles. He picked me because I could smile and talk.
And the rest is history. Today at airports all around the world, you hear Carolyn's voice on repeat. But it's not making her rich.
Well, I get paid by the hour and no residuals.
Amazing voice.
Nice voice.
I can listen to her all day.
Of course.
That was Sam Sweeney reporting. Carolyn says while her voice will outlive her, she won't be too far away.
Okay, so get this. Her cemetery plot is right next to the airport in Bangor, Maine. A 95-year-old World War II veteran lost everything when his home in Iowa went up in flames.
But some children are helping renew his hope.
That's right.
Kids at an area elementary school gave him a blanket and a brand new American flag, and neighbors pitched in as well, donating more than $2,000.
That is absolutely fantastic. Great job, kids. And that is it from the Now Cincinnati. Glad you could join us.
9 on your side at 5 starts in 1 minute.